Okay, Dineen, anytime you're ready. Thank you so much for doing this presentation for our parents.
Well, thank you so much for including me. I've been listening to the stories of the Seal of Biliteracy scholarship winners, and as I hear their words as students and as children, being a mom myself, their words really resonate with me. So I was raised as a monolingual English speaker who had a fascination for language, the English language and also the Spanish language, as I began to study in high school, and found my teacher to be someone I admired so much, and I hung on every word, and was able to learn a lot of Spanish in that time. But because I didn't have the opportunity for practice, I lost so much of that language over the years. So to introduce myself and put some context behind my work, my name is Dineen Gruchacz, and I have been an elementary school principal for 12 years now. I work in Princeton, New Jersey, and I am in a community that is about 30% Spanish speaking. And we have a dual language immersion program in my elementary school. I mentioned being a parent. I have 4 children who are grown now, whom I wish could have been part of the program at our school, because today they could have been giving this presentation, as I wish I could, totally in Spanish. So I am again honored, and thank you for the opportunity to speak from someone who is in a building with about 300 children every day, and almost an entire staff now of bilingual teachers, instructional assistants, counselors, special ed teachers, all kinds of folks who work in the schools and work in the cafeteria and on the buses, etc. I can tell you 10 years ago, I was still able to hire people who only spoke English, but that is not even an option for me. We value and need Spanish speakers to be teachers, to be aides, to be school counselors, school nurses, etc. So I cannot tell you enough the value of maintaining language, adding languages, but certainly keeping your native language alive for your students and for your children. So if anyone has questions for me, I have my email address on the screen. It's dineen@princetonk12.org. I'm so happy to be part of this panel of educators and professionals, and to share a little bit of my story and my school story. So I tried to think, why would I want to express to parents, as I do each year in my school, but to a wider audience, why is it so important to be bilingual and multilingual? Our world is getting smaller, meaning that we have access to the globe, right? We're raising global citizens. We, through technology, have the ability to communicate more widely. So bilingualism or multilingualism affects our economy. It affects business, communications, travel, and culture and immigration. And the research tells us, as you've heard many times this morning, that advanced levels of bilingual competence are associated with significant cognitive advantages. And in all the conferences I have attended, all of the research I have done and continue to do proves that to us. The brain develops differently in a child who has the ability to speak, hear, understand, read, write more than one language. Students who have musical ability demonstrate similar cognitive development and the development of the part of the brain that allows us to solve problems, to think strategically, to make decisions, to be flexible, all the things that we look for today as a skill set when we are looking to hire folks to work in schools or businesses or in many, many industries. The ability to control two languages, to keep them separate, but to also draw upon them as a reservoir of power, to use the word in the title of today's conference, is amazing. Those transfers and connections that happen inside a child's mind all day long as they are able to use and are encouraged to use both languages, keeps them sharp, keeps them strong, and gives them the ability to enhance what we call executive function. We also find in schools, sometimes we're dealing more and more these days with students who are unable to attend or pay attention or focus for an extended period of time on one thing or one topic or one person or subject. So the ability to do that is so important in someone's success long-term. So being able to have that attention is something we're training students as they're learning in both languages. So again, in our school, we teach core content in Spanish and in English. So our students are both always or all always having to attend, to listen, to watch, to read the body language of the teacher, to look for resources in the room and in the building to help them learn. We are also very interested in teaching confidence in the language, confidence with communication, confidence to share ideas and to pursue learning. So we want to monitor inhibition and have our kids be able to and comfortable with, right? Feel comfortable in school so that they can be available for learning. Being able to switch their focus from one language to another, to talk with adults and students, old and young. All of these are byproducts or outcomes of becoming comfortable and having confidence in your language and your language ability. So the value of family literacy. So please, please do not underestimate whatever literacy skills you can share at home. There is a relationship between how students fare in school to how they are exposed at home to language or literacy. Read to children in your native language. And this is true whether you are the most affluent family or the poorest family. And I see this every single day in our schools and over the years. Others have mentioned here before the value of song and rhymes and poems and storytelling. The ability to tell a story has become a skill that we are losing as a culture, I believe, because of technology. So I tell my parents of our incoming kindergartners and first graders, and even the older ones, our fifth graders, read to your children, talk to your children, converse. The value there is enormous. Eye contact, smiling, the way you make someone feel with your language and with the things you do with them is so, so important. Children are much more successful in schools if they know that it is important for their voice to be heard. The more you do at home increases the child's literacy and reading ability in school. Language is your asset. A lot of the students who shared this morning talked about language being a gift and how many of us as adults wish we had that gift to unwrap and use now in our lives. So for those of us who are not fluent in more than one language, we feel, and I can say, I feel I'm missing something. So I am a student of language. I'm constantly in the classrooms with my kids, learning Spanish and studying on my own. And if this was something that I could have learned at a younger age, I would be ahead right now. So there is something that we study as language teachers, as bilingual language acquisition people, and that is something called common underlying proficiency. And this is the science behind what we are telling or imploring parents. There are surface features of both languages that we see above the waterline, if you will, or above the horizon. But what is beneath that is this common sharing of language and learning, such that we are able to transfer from one language to the other. And in our school and in our dual language program, we have been learning over the years that for our students to learn languages, they need to be able to share the languages that they have, those that they have access to. So it's not about learning language in isolation. So any language learned, any features of the language that are, any features that are learned contribute to our ability to progress and to learn more. So if you can keep that underlying proficiency, that foundation in your child through that reading and singing and talking, or even more if you can, that will add to their ability to be successful in school and beyond, and in their lives in every single facet. So by eliminating that language or encouraging only one language, we are taking away and weakening the foundation that helps them to learn. So it is really important to maintain language and to teach at home, not only for just the, again, value of being able to speak the language, but to understand the culture, to share heritage, and to be able to appreciate others who speak languages that you don't, or cultures that are different than yours. And this is something I can say I have witnessed over the years as a teacher and as a building principal, where children are more open and accepting. They are also receiving so much more. And I'll talk a little bit more about that social emotional part of learning, which is just critical. So your language additionally adds to these family and community connections. It helps your child maintain their self-identity. We've heard a few people this morning say, please correct me if I'm not pronouncing your name properly. Our names, our language is part of who we are. It's not something to change, to modify, or to take away. It is something that enriches humanity. It helps us, again, to maintain our heritage and to share that heritage. It allows for, of course, this personal and professional growth that I have seen and have been speaking to you about this morning. So if you're not familiar with dual language immersion as a program for learning in schools, I'll talk a little bit about that at this time. So in our school, as I mentioned, we have dual language, Spanish and English, where our children, our students are taught literacy and academic content in English and in Spanish. The Center for Applied Linguistics defines dual language and the goals of dual language as students being able to develop high levels of language proficiency and literacy in both languages. And this is what is so important. It's not about becoming better at English or learning English and only being proficient in English. It's about developing Spanish. It's about developing the native language. At our school, we have some children who come to us not only with English, but another language other than Spanish, perhaps Mandarin, Italian, French. So those kids are able at the age of 5 and 6 and 7, so young, to be able to add a third language because of the flexibility and malleability of the brain and the prefrontal cortex where language is learned. So if we stop teaching language at home to our little ones, we are doing the biggest disservice to them that we can when it comes to this brain development. Do Language has a second goal of demonstrating high levels of academic achievement. So this, again, is not just about language learning. It's about learning in social studies, learning in science, learning in math, learning music, learning in the arts. All of these things are important and more easily developed in children who are bilingual. And then finally, and not at all least important, but maybe most important, it is to develop that appreciation for and understanding of diverse cultures. I see our students being more willing to help, being more willing to stand up and to engage with others when they have the benefit of learning a second language. I mentioned earlier that there are other models besides dual language immersion. Our program begins in kindergarten. However, in the fall, we're opening a preschool program, which will be taught 90% in Spanish. And that is for the entire class and for any of the participants therein. They will then move up into kindergarten and progress through 5th grade at our school. We started in 2015, as I mentioned, that it's been years that we've been able to speak from this experience that I've seen with my own eyes. Our first cohort of kids are now in 8th grade at our middle school, and that class will go to 9th grade in the fall. And we have plans at the high school for this cohort of dual language students to be able to take an advanced Spanish course, to also participate in a science advanced course that will be taught in Spanish on horticulture. And also we are preparing to offer the seal of biliteracy. This vision of multilingualism and multiculturalism for dual language programs incorporates a concept that we call additive bilingualism. Students are provided to acquire a second language at no cost to their home language. So we certainly don't want to take that second language away. And I would encourage you as parents to join in our thinking and the thinking of researchers who have, over the course of 20 and 30 years, been able to demonstrate the value of adding language, not at the expense of taking another language away. And if we think back to that, the surface features and the graphic I showed you that James Cummins is known for, which is this, we call it the iceberg. Underneath that water level is where all that magic and growth happens when we have two languages that we're learning up on the surface, but all the transfer that happens beneath the surface is what gives us that strong foundation. So in my school, we teach the curriculum through the language. We have a one-way model currently where we teach 50% of the core in Spanish and 50% in English. We teach math and science in Spanish, and we teach social studies and English language arts in English. We are forever looking at ways to improve our program. Our school just underwent 2 program reviews, one by CAL, the Center for Applied Linguistics, and another by the Tri-States Consortium. And we are going to be looking at our model, the content areas we teach in Spanish and English, and what percentages of time we dedicate to each of those languages. But one thing I can tell you is that through both reviews, the parent feedback, the staff feedback, the community feedback has been overwhelmingly positive for dual language and for continuing to have programs like this. This is just a graphic representation of how our day is broken up and how we have the opportunity for kids to integrate together for lunch and recess throughout our school, and how they learn in their special areas, which are the arts, PE, library, and such. In our school, we use a roller coaster schedule because we want our children to learn both languages at different times of the day. This isn't important to anyone who's not part of our school, but is important to emphasize the value of both languages and that they have parity. We don't always teach math and Spanish in the morning. It's taught every other day in the afternoon. We don't always teach English and reading and writing and literacy in English first thing in the morning. We alternate our schedule. And our students also are doing now more and more responsive classroom. Responsive classroom is a program that we use at our school that is in place to support that social emotional learning that I mentioned earlier. It is important for students to be able to feel safe. I heard once from a professional that students don't care what you know until they know that you care. And I believe this, and I've always modeled this in my school and in my personal and professional life. We know that students need to feel safe, they need to feel comfortable, and they need to feel that they belong. So we have incorporated a morning meeting and an afternoon meeting or a closing circle for all of our classes. So our children have a chance to share their concerns, share their life celebrations, things that are important to them. And they do so, of course, in both languages, depending upon what part of the day it is and which teacher they are working with. Our students have 2 teachers each day, one who teaches them in English and one who teaches in Spanish. I mentioned this research earlier about immersion students achieving higher levels of second language proficiency than through any other language model. And I can attest to that personally as I started my talk and told you a little bit about my Spanish language initial exposure, which was in high school, where I had a class one period per day. And so in that 45 minutes that I was able to sit in Senora Cudlack's class, I tried to drink in as much as I could, but not being able to practice every day for longer periods of time, I wasn't able to hold on to that language. And I didn't have any of that sort of underlying fostering or foundation beneath the surface to be able to transfer better and share those 2 languages in my own head. But as I watch our students, and I have now watched many cohorts come through our school, some of them as young as 5, who leave us as 10 or 11-year-olds, and they are able to converse, to read and to write in Spanish, and to go on to middle school to continue to learn, where we switch the content areas that we teach in the target language, so that math and science are then taught in English, and cultures and humanities are taught in Spanish, along with a Spanish language class that is on their level. The sociocultural competence piece is very, very important, as everyone has touched on this morning. And that is learning to understand other people, their values, their culture, but also to be proud of and to maintain your own values and your own culture, and to give that to your children to pass on. And again, that can be told through courses and school, but it can also be done through conversation, through song, through storytelling. All of this is valuable. When we really tease out and explore further dual language immersion and the value of learning language, we are able to, beyond the walls of the school, identify this greater cognitive flexibility, this increased ability to attend and pay attention and be focused in our learning. We are seeing more and more studies of kids who are unable to stay focused for an extended period of time, or to be able to sustain attention or have the stamina to read and write because of, in part, I think, technology and this idea of immediate gratification, immediate ability to find an answer, and not fostering this idea about how to think. Bilingual students, bilingual children, multilingual children have been known to have better flexibility, better memory. Working memory is such an important skill for life in general, well beyond the classroom. And then to have the ability to solve problems. So superior problem solving skills is something very important. It's something that makes us stronger and is something that our children benefit from when they speak a second or third or fourth language, as we heard one of the Seal of Biliteracy students talk about this morning. At our school, we have a contract for all our families who join our program. And I'm not going to go into that in great detail, except to tell you that it is centered on commitment. And commitment is so important as a skill to teach children, but as a family. Commit to supporting your child at home in any way you can. And that, again, is something that we encourage in the native language, the languages spoken in your homes, whatever those languages may be. They're all valuable and contribute to the learning of English or any other language. You might still be wondering and thinking, and this is something I share with the parents in my school community. Is this the right choice for your child? I have English-speaking families who wonder, I don't know, can they really learn? Are they going to get mixed up by being taught in two languages? And then Spanish-speaking families who are reluctant to put their child in a program where they're not going to learn all day from 9 o'clock in the morning until 3 o'clock in the afternoon in English. They are afraid. I can tell you, there is nothing to fear. Our students are incredibly malleable. They are very brave. They are courageous, and they are able to develop two languages and learn content at the same time. There is nothing that I have seen that has inhibited any child or made them unable to learn or make friends. In fact, we have seen the opposite. We have seen children be able to grow and prosper and be able to extend their circle of friends. And I have watched their parents also become part of the community and feel welcome in their children's school. because they truly are welcome and their voice and their culture truly is valued. So I implore you and encourage you to be all in, to participate in the programs that teach your children languages. I always remind parents, and I'll say it here because it's important no matter where you are in your learning journey as a parent, attendance and getting your child to school on time are very, very important. We want those kiddos in the building so that they can learn and absorb all kinds of new things. And of course, to be enthusiastic. Our children pick up on our fears, our tensions, our concerns. So if we seem that we're nervous and we're worried, or we feel that there's fear of success or lack of success, our kids pick up on that. So be positive and encouraging as you send your child off to school each day. I mentioned that we do a morning meeting each day and in the afternoon as our kids switch classes. So they will engage in a question of the day or a problem of the day. And it gives our kids an ability to talk and to use their language, to practice their skills, to develop confidence, but it also gives them an outlet for sharing things that are heavy on their hearts, are their minds, things they're concerned about. It could be something as simple as something that happened on the way to school or on the playground, or it could be something really complex. But we build in that time every single day for our kids to have someone that they can go to have a person that they know that they can trust, and someone that you can trust as a parent. Parent communication with school is important. We welcome hearing from you. We want to see you at conferences. We want to see you at celebrations and assemblies and whenever you can be there. But we also recognize that we have jobs outside of the home and we can't always be there. So having a partnership with school is so important for us as school people and for you as parents. I've mentioned this before about staying positive, reading every day, having patience in the system and in the process. Research-based programs work. Children do learn. It takes time. It doesn't happen in 1 year or a few months, but it does happen, as you have heard again, through the witness of these young adults who have achieved that seal of biliteracy and are going on to colleges, to universities, to job settings where they will use both languages. We assess our students. We use various measures to make sure they're learning the content and learning the language through a variety of ways. And we send report cards and have these conferences, and we do them when parents are available. So sometimes we have them in the evening, sometimes we have them before school. If you have the opportunity to meet with your students' or child's teachers, do that. Now with Zoom and technology, sometimes you don't even have to physically get into the building, but that opportunity to talk and ask questions and hear about your child is very, very valuable. We have many things, and we feel that our school is muy especial. We do lots of cultural celebrations. This year, we did a celebration of Dia de los Muertos. We have a tostada party every year in kindergarten. We're currently working on celebrations of lights from around the world. We do our announcements and our pledge in the morning in English and in Spanish. We vary. I mentioned responsive classroom and morning and afternoon meetings. Our PTO allows us to have residencies. We have cultural dance, song, theater, all again in the 2 languages. We love to have parents come in and share on career days, or to teach how to cook, how to conduct a cultural celebration and just sharing things from their lives at home. We have a program with Princeton University where scholar athletes come and read with our kids. The athletes that come to our school are always the bilingual athletes because our kids are able to read and share stories in 2 languages. We have a variety of clubs, everything from ultimate frisbee to chess and yoga and crafts. And we offer a camp in the summertime for our kids that is exclusively in the Spanish language, and it is taught by our staff, who are all, as I said, bilingual. I mentioned this earlier about introducing a pre-K in our school. We're very excited about that. We're starting out with a class of 4-year-olds. And I want to just leave you again with this message about education for the future. Bilingualism and multilingualism is the future. It is something that you can provide a foundation for as parents. It is a gift. It is a skill. It is a power that you already have. So please don't hesitate to share that and pass it on to your children. Languages truly are power. So thank you so much for listening. I hope that my perspective as an elementary school principal and a mom have helped you to see the value in language learning. I'm not sure if there's time for questions or if there are any, but I'm happy to answer whatever.
Yes, there absolutely is time for questions. And as a matter of fact, we already have one from Carolina. She wrote it earlier. What can be done to encourage other school districts to do more for promoting the learning of another language so children can start learning since elementary school? I'm not sure. I know you touched upon it in your presentation, but that was one of the questions we got.
Sure. Well, as a parent, you have the ability to go to your school board and to talk about providing programs like ours, like dual language. There are not a lot of programs in the state of New Jersey. As I mentioned, I'm in Princeton. Our neighboring district, West Windsor, has programs in Spanish and also in Mandarin. But parents have a voice, and the school boards, when they hear about these programs, as they did in Princeton, they're often encouraged to start them. So various groups and probably some of the folks on this board, the executive board, are always working to encourage programs like this at the lower levels. But look for preschool programs that offer instruction and language learning.
Another question from Yanni Perez is, how does this school compare in math and reading test scores to the other elementary schools in the area?
So you may have noticed on one of the slides I had, we haven't had standardized testing for the last 3 years in New Jersey because of the pandemic. But we do testing, of course, of our kids using our curriculum in math and science. I can tell you that our students who take the science assessment in New Jersey in 5th grade scored comparably to our other district elementary schools. Princeton, typically outperforms the state in many areas, and that has been true for our students in math and science and even language or English literacy.
Does anybody else have a question? Either you could put it in the chat or you can feel free to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And Maggie wrote in the chat that there's so much great information that you shared with us. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. It's my pleasure. I'm truly passionate about language and about our program. I've really, it's been a journey for us and our school and our community, and we continue to learn and improve our program and share information with other districts so that hopefully they will embrace a similar model so that more kids can be exposed to such things. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I really feel honored to be a part of this today.
Oh, somebody did ask if it's possible to visit the school and get more information. That's from Yanni Perez.
Yes, absolutely. It's Community Park Elementary School.
Mhm.
You can certainly look us up. I can see if I can get back to my prior slide here, where my email address is posted. Okay, whoops,
Oh,
went
there
too
it was.
far. I went too far. Here we go.
Mhm.
So it's Dineen Gruchacz at princetonk12.org if you want to email me. We have visitors a lot from different districts, from the state. Again, the pandemic, as everybody knows, changed a lot of things, and we're just now getting back into we did some parent information sessions in the course of the last week, and our Princeton Public School website has a lot of information about dual language on the website. Any other questions?
None that I see in the chat.
Okay, I'm checking as well. Okay. Oh, thank you so much.
Everybody is so thankful for the important information you shared and for taking time to do that this morning.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you. It's nice to see everyone. Have a good day.
Okay, so at this time, we have our next session starting